You know that big red fella that always says beer makes him smarter? Let's see if I can trick him on this one. It's ringing. G'day. G'day. Is this Tiny? Yeah, this is Tiny. From Offtap Brewing? Yeah, from Offtap Brewing. Hey mate, do you own a fridge? Yeah mate, I own a fridge. I own a couple of them actually. Yeah. Hey, what colour is that fridge, mate? Colour's white, mate. Alright. Would you let me know if that fridge is running? Yeah, yes, I can definitely tell you my fridge is running. I just tested it today. Oh, it's running? Yeah, I agree, because I just saw it running past my place. Ah, you little turd. G'day guys, Tiny here from Offtap Brewing. I just wanted to shoot a video, don't know how quick it's going to be. Shot one already, explaining the same sort of stuff, and it was 20 minutes long, so... Okay, just wanted to point out a few things about refrigeration and how refrigerators work. I've got one here, it's a pretty standard old fridge. It is a plate in the fridge compartment, and you don't see a plate in the refrigeration compartment because the little tubes are running around the outside, and they're running all along there. There's lots of them, and that works the same way as a chest freezer if we tip this on its side. Now the way this fridge runs, or the way this fridge cools down its gases and oils, is a condenser tubing, and they look like that. There's actually tubing that comes out from the compressor. Okay, tubing that comes out from the compressor up past the oil or the gas drying mechanism, goes all the way up, and it's got its own separate set of radiator, and then that finishes and comes down to this one, and then back down, and that's running cooler oil now. Okay, slightly cooler, but it's still hot, so it's slightly cooled the compressor down, and then, you know, there's more that come out of there running the gas up and through. You can see them going up and coming back down, and that's the basic way this fridge runs. Now, the way refrigeration gas chills down is it's a byproduct of the gas changing size. So guys, as the gas changes from its smaller, warmer state into a bigger state, that's refrigeration. That's where the cold comes from in your fridge. So the gas is actually getting bigger. That's why the tubes in the lines in the fridge plate that you can see are bigger than the ones on the back, because the gas has changed size, so it's cooling. Now, in this fridge, you can see the freezer pumping the smoke out, or you probably couldn't, but in this fridge, it is it's one continuous line of tubing. So we've got our tubing that runs around here, as I said, all the way around from the front to the back. Okay, all the way around to the front to the back, there is lots of tubing in there, lots and lots. And then it comes down through there, up there, and into this plate. As you can see, the lines are bigger than the ones on the back. It runs through that plate, does its little thing through that plate, and then it goes back up and out the back, where the compressor, it gets smaller and the gas gets hot then, and then it's cooled and working at a better temperature. So that's the basic way that fridge works. Now guys, I've got another fridge around here which I was able to pick up for free as someone was putting it on their curb, and it doesn't work. The freezer, yeah, doesn't really get that cold. We used it for the party night, and just to put the beers in the freezer to keep them cold while we're standing out here cooking and drinking. This is the inside of it. It's only a very small fridge, guys. That's why I'm not worried about dumping it back on the footpath where I got it from. And it's fairly new. The way this one works is a very similar way. If we look at the back here, there's no condenser tubing. Okay, it's all in a big bundle in there with a fan blowing on it. And that's where your drip water goes into and evaporates off. So that all that tubing on the back of the other fridge is actually in there in a big bundle with a big fan on it. That's just for your own information, because there are heater lines, the warmer lines, going through the outside of the fridge, mainly around here. That's why we don't drill into the direct side of the fridge, and they're to keep the magnets soft and moist and not let them freeze up. So when the fridge is running, there's actually heat running through here. Now I've got fridges with Harston staples on them. I'll show you that later. And I've found where the heater lines were running, and I've drilled and riveted away from them. Okay, in the freezer and in the fridge. Now, you'll notice a fundamental difference of this fridge, guys. This fridge doesn't have a chill plate. I wonder why. It'll have the chiller around here in the freezer, as the other one did. You can even see some of the lines in the plastic there. But why doesn't it have a chill plate there? Because it's just blowing cold air through a fan, straight through there, cold air, and a little bit through there actually as well. Cold air is just falling down and going into the fridge. This one's run off fans, guys. Now this fridge would run the same way if the freezer was on the bottom and then there was no chiller plate in the back of the fridge. It would blow air up from the freezer into the fridge. So that's what's governing your fridge temperature, and I've got a rather large one out the back, guys, that runs that way. The freezer's on the bottom and it blows cold air up. Now that's basically, unless you step into industrial sized fridges and stuff like that, that's basically how all your fridges run in your house. You either seal the chiller plate or you don't. You've either got one in your fridge or you don't. It's just in the freezer. Now, let me go and pour another beer, guys. Why do I have water there? I don't know. Okay, get another beer. Just to lube the information, because I do have some to tell you. And we'll start with this fridge out here. Now, when you go and look for a second-hand fridge, guys, okay, and someone tells you, oh, it's running, it's good, blah 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 blah, or no, I'll step back into chest freezers, sorry, because I don't have one, so I'll just merely explain a chest freezer. A chest freezer works the same as the two freezers I just showed you, with all the tubing, the condenser tubing running around the outside of the freezer. Okay, so when you're testing a freezer, you obviously ring the people and say, oh, I'm coming around to have a look at the freezer, could you turn it on and put a glass of water in there for me? Because you want to see how that water freezes. The water should freeze very clear on the outside and then very cloudy in the middle. That is a result of very quick freezing, a very efficient freezer. Look into the way ice insulates for Eskimos and all that sort of stuff. Once the outside of the ice is actually frozen, it's harder for the ice in the middle to freeze. So a nice low temperature, good working freezer will have very clear and then a hazy internal. You can see that it'll look really nice and then really crystal. And that's not the point of this. That's just some experiments you can do at home. And in a chest freezer, when you are testing a chest freezer, make sure when it's running, when you get there and the chest freezer is running, you run your hand down the side of it, because there will be those little wires wrapped around, those little tubes wrapped around the whole way down. If it's only cold a little bit of the way down, then you've got a gas leak in that freezer. Walk away from it. You know, if it's like frosty build up and then halfway and then nothing, you're losing gas, and that's why they're selling it. You know, it might last another year, it might not. Getting it regassed, I mean, those things are so full of tubing that the leak could be anywhere, and no refrigeration mechanic is going to want to pull it apart and fix it for you. So keep an eye on that. Now once you've seen the water frozen, then check down the inside, make sure it's getting cold the whole way. And yeah, leave the freezer open, stand there for a good 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever it takes till that freezer wants to cycle again, and then run your hand down the inside of it. Pointing to another aspect is, or another point is, that's why we don't drill into them, because if you drill into the side of a freezer, chest freezer, you will kill it. That's why when we make our keezers, we put wooden collars on them. It's not also just to step the height up, it's also because if you drill through one, you're going to kill it. Okay, when you're buying a fridge like this, back onto this fridge. Okay, and the freezer works really, really well. The freezer, everything in the freezer is frozen. The reason why I'm not keeping this is because this wouldn't even freeze a bottle of soft drink. So this fridge is going back on the road where I found it. What we're doing when we go and buy it is we test the freezer, and the freezer's working awesome. And then they say to you, but the fridge doesn't get very cold. Well, you've got to take a risk there. The risk might be just the fan is broken. The fan that blows the cold air in. It might be a mechanism in the thermostat which tells the fan. Okay, so it might be electrical, might be a fan, might be a thermostatical problem. I just made that word up, thermostatical. Don't you love it? Beer made me smarter. But it could be the thermostat, could be the fan. Both those parts aren't very expensive. And if your fridge works like this, don't quote me on it guys, but it's probably the problem. If your freezer's freezing and your fridge isn't running, your thermostat's probably on the fritz, or the fan's on the fritz. So very easy, rip out a screwdriver and have a look. I mean, if you've got the time to do it while you're on the purchase, well then obviously do it. Now if you want to take the risk, and yes it is a risk when you're buying second-hand refrigeration equipment, don't get me wrong, I'm not a refrigeration mechanic, but I do know one. Yeah, mainly that's the two things that can go wrong with a fridge like this, as long as the freezer is chilling all the way. So that's the way that fridge works. Now I'll go back over to this one over here, because some of you guys out there may recognise it. It's my Hazcam. And it seems to be working perfectly now. Now, just an assumption of what could have gone wrong with this fridge is there may have been a tiny, tiny speck of moisture, and we're talking a 1/15 of a drop in the gas lines from manufacture. And whilst that gas was changing its size and spitting out, it may have, that little tiny particle of moisture might have attached itself to somewhere in the freezer and frozen in the gas lines, guys. And then when the next particle come through, it froze again, and the next particle come through and it froze again, and it created a blockage of gas, which means the freezer, because as I explained before, it all works. The freezer on this fridge, the freezer gets cold, but then there's a plate in the fridge, so that's got to get cold as well. There's no fans transferring the cold gas. So once that got blocked and it made it hard, the fridge stopped producing maximum temperature as it should have. So, yeah, once I turned it off and I realised it was dead, I thought it was dead, it obviously had a chance for the gas and everything and the moisture to all settle. It had a good 3 months to go back into the bottom, and now that I've turned it on back out here, it is running absolutely spot on. It is awesome. So Hazcam needs a new home. Hazcam is running again and will be fermenting my beers very, very shortly in the pool room. So I'm glad I didn't throw it out. I'm glad I let it set. I'm so glad that I actually tested it before I threw it out. Now guys, when they put compressors and everything into fridges, as I explained before about the chest freezers and them not being cold all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, you know, that's a telltale sign that you should just walk away from that one. It's too good to be true. When you look at the back of this one, because you saw all those coily wires and everything, Everything's there, it's all exposed, you can see everything. Whoop, spin you around, really crappy angle, sorry. You can see all the compressor. You can see that's what should have trapped the moisture in mine, but it might not have, it might have got out or something. And you can see all the tubing for the compressors. Now you can see the join there. That's obviously the, that's a join there, that's a join there, that's a join there. Everything's only joined up with one join. A telltale sign on these sorts of fridges and ones that you can see is that there's extra brazing in there. There's extra connections. There's might be a service sticker on the back of the fridge, which would indicate either that needed regassing or the compressor blew and they took the compressor out and they brazed in a new one. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in a fridge, but if it loses gas, chances are, unless it was on that big condenser coil at the back, if it was on a coil on the inside of the fridge, you're not going to want to pull it out, pull the shrouding off the fridge and pull the insulation apart just to try and find a hole that may be there that you may never ever see. So yeah, always look for new things in the back of the old thing. Look for a fridge that, as I explained in the other one, that has a freezer and a fan blowing. The fan could be dead. The thermostat which turns the fan on could be dead. Those components, guys, are relatively cheap. We've all got smartphones, not as smart as this one though. We can very easily jump onto a website, type in the make and model of the fridge while we're at somebody's place, type in the make and model of the fridge and type in price on a thermostat or fan or whatever, and just get a very quick indication of what those parts are going to cost us. And as I said, it's a risk, guys. It really is a risk on whether you buy the fridge or not. This is all your call. All I'm trying to do today with this video is to put some information in your hands so you don't end up with dud fridges. And I've done it a few times. I've learned the hard way. I think I'm actually probably out of pocket $200. I've bought fridges, I've sold fridges. I've offloaded a couple real quick because I noticed the telltale signs of them, chest freezers. I noticed that getting, the cold level was getting lower and lower. So on eBay, see you later, fridge is gone, freezer's gone. So I think I'm all out of pocket about $200 where I've been diddled like that. That was early on. So cheers, guys. So yeah, as I said, all I'm trying to do is to put some more information into your guys' hands so you can make a more educated decision on whether or not to buy that second-hand item. And quite frankly, I would rather go out and buy a second-hand fridge over a new one to do what we're doing, especially if I want to drill holes in it. I want to put STCs on them and change the way they're configured to actually run the way I want them to run, and to stick stuff all over them and put them out in the shed, because that's going to cause surface rust and all that sort of stuff. High humidity area, all that sort of jargon, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, guys, when you go and look at a fridge or whatever, it's up to you to make the decision. Hope this information has helped you. I would love any comments down there, so when people are reading the comments, if I have made a mistake or if I have missed something out and someone knows a little bit more than me, please put it down there so other people can learn from this. And if you have a question, please feel free to ask me. I'm contactable just about everywhere, and I'm very eager to help people out. And I won't just speak through my nose. I'll go and find out information about your problem. But yeah, guys, just on the fly, brewing guy. Cheers, guys. Remember, beer makes you smarter.